Welcome everyone. This is Cate, although this is just an image and words. But one thing about images and words and communication, we can give it to the Holy Spirit for his purposes. So anything the ego made, we can use it for a different purpose. We can give our life, surrender our life, everything over for Jesus, the Holy Spirit, in this lifetime. So let's just be quiet for a few minutes and join. Just feel a joining. I'll just say a prayer in a few minutes. Just feel your mind quietening. Just let go. Just let the mind rest. Holy Spirit, we give this meeting over to you. We surrender. We just say you be in charge. Whatever we hear today, you be in charge of illuminating the truth into my mind. And I just come to this space now, just empty, just ready and willing. I don't know. I don't need to know how anything's going to be illuminated into my mind. All I need to do is just open and be ready and willing. Just a little willingness to show up. I just bring that little willingness with me today. Say your words. We're going to be reading some of the course today and a little bit from one of Wapnicks' books, just a short little bit in that. So we're just going to give the remainder of this time together, just knowing we don't walk alone, we all go together. We're joined here together. Welcome, Pema. We're all here together, all walking each other home, all being helpful to each other. So today's talk is about death. A few people have messaged me recently just saying, would I talk about death? So I'll be like I did last week, I'll be reading and then sort of giving my own little commentary here and there on it. So generally when a subject comes up, I already have my own way of expressing how I see it. When I say I, it's really just this understanding in my mind, my understanding of it. So I'm just going to express it now. So I'm going to start off with the ego's version of death. So in the ego's world, the body seems real. We believe we as a body is born. The ego part of our mind, which is a thought system, says, this is me. I am this body. It says I was born, and because I was born, I'm going to die. The ego, when we think with the ego, believe the ego, are in the ego, we look around at the so-called world, projected world, and we see bodies born, bodies getting sick, bodies suffering, and bodies seemingly dying. So we grow up in this world, in this lifetime, talking about death as an ending to life. And so we believe that life has an end. So we have an idea that our life is short, it is full of suffering and sickness. We believe life is in the body, and the body has autonomy. We have the ego thought system that we believe in says the body is what I am, and it seems as if the body can do whatever it likes. We think it can get sick without our permission. Oh, I just got sick. I just got cancer. I just got run over. So death in the ego's world, the ego's version, is related to, basically you could say, a heart that stops pumping. So when we look at the body, and a medical version of death is, if the heart's pumping, we're alive, and if the heart's not pumping, we're dead. So we say that life and death is to do with the image of a heart that we see as pumping. So that's the ego's version of death, and that's what we're all caught up in. Welcome, Uma. So what does Jesus say about death? He's got a whole new way to look at death. He tells us that we're never in a body. We could never be in a body or trapped in a body. And the body doesn't have any life and doesn't die. He tells us that we are immortal spirit, mind. He doesn't tell us that we're something, that the body dies and then something goes on afterwards. We're not in a body and then go somewhere else. He says, you're never in a body. You've never been in a body. The mind has projected that we're in a body. So if I've never been in a body, even though I may experience it, he says this experience of being in a body is like being in a dream. So at night when we can dream at night that we're in a body. But when we wake up, where's that dream? Gone. We might have even dreamt that someone else has died in that dream. And we've been very upset, and we might even wake up in the morning and cry because we've dreamt someone has died. But they haven't died. We might say, Jesus says we've gone into another dream. So this, what we call our waking life, is actually another dream. We're trying to, or forgiveness takes us to the happy dream. When you know that this is all a dream, that the mind projected, and that who you are is immortal spirit, is mind. Therefore, you can't be threatened. Who you are, you're coming more and more into the experience of being the love of God, of being something holy, something above body. You might even experience yourself at times sort of being outside the body and then coming back in and using the body. So Jesus' teachings are that we're never in a body. We're not where we can leave the body. So he's asking us to open our minds to that we weren't born, we're not subject to sickness or death, because we are this infinite love of God. We're created as that. So the Father and the Son are one. The Son is not male. It's a term that says basically the replica. I am as God created me. I'm the replica of that love, and I've just forgotten. So Jesus says in the Course that the body will be gently laid aside when its use is over. He doesn't say it dies. It just says it will be laid aside. And lesson 294, it says that it won't even be old or sick. It's literally will just be let go. There won't be, I believe what he's saying, there won't be a cause of death. They won't be able to find the cause of death. But that's not to say that if we do get cancer or have a heart attack or die of coronavirus or something, it's not to say that our work with the Course and illuminating and awakening our minds hasn't helped our journey and hasn't helped others. Let's not judge if anyone seems to die in the dream. Let's not judge each other. Let's just say, brother, I thank you for everything you've helped me with. How many lifetimes, dream lifetimes, have we got to go? Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen for me, for you? Let's join in a non-judgmental love for each other, that we're all on the journey. And maybe there's so much guilt in our minds. Maybe we've got more to undo. Who knows? Let's just join in that acknowledgement that we're all together, listening to these teachers, having Jesus as our teacher. And let's just acknowledge we're all in certain stages of awakening. Let's be kind and considerate to each other. And Jesus says our only response to our brother should be appreciation. So anyone that has helped me, and everyone has actually helped me. So I'm appreciating everyone, every teacher, everyone that's triggered me. It's all been good lessons. So death. Jesus says there is no death in the what the ego says is death. So the reason why is that life can't end. That's what he's telling us. Our life as who we are can never end. So in dreams, we can be born and die in dreams. So you could go to sleep at night and dream a dream that you were born, had a life, got sick, had cancer and died, and then had another dream. Over and over, you could dream that every night for years. But every time you wake up, you've never died, because you're coming to know yourself as something that is beyond this world, something that is beyond being subjected to things of this world. So if you are finding yourself sick, I might do another teaching on sickness, because that's a really good one as well. It's really good to be very honest with yourself and see where you chose it, because Jesus says we do choose it. And the one thing about my journey with the Course is, no matter whether I believed it or not in that moment, I said, if he's written it down in the Course, it's true. Even if I'm not aware that I've chosen it. If he's telling me I've chosen it, and he says we choose when we die as well. So everyone that dies has chosen it. Even if it's been like a split second in our thought, it's been chosen. He says nothing can come to you except by your desire for it, or something along those lines. There's a great little saying around that. So with our journey with the Course, its teachings, it's important to, you may not think it's true, you might think this sounds outrageous, I don't think this is right for me, and that's okay. But just remember that at this moment, you may not be able to see it, but it's teaching you, will help you. They're all really to help us. So, on the subject of death, just before I get into the reading from the workbook lesson, I just want to say, in this dream world, if someone dies and you go to a funeral, like Ken Wapnick always says, just be very normal, be very compassionate, understanding. It's very important to be in the world but not of it. So you might say kind and loving things to someone that is mourning the death of someone else, because that's where they're at. So it's very, it's just kind. Jesus wouldn't walk up to someone that's crying at the death of their partner and saying, he wasn't born, he didn't die. Look, he may say that if the person's mind was open to it, I guess. That's what he's just saying to me. But if someone's really stuck in that, he would just put his arm around them. He would just say, I'm here for you. I love you. And just offer some support. So it's always good to say, what would Jesus do? We can't know what we're going to say or do with anyone that is looking at their own death or having someone close to them die. Even though Jesus tells us that it's a dream, if we're not experiencing it that way, if we feel that we're identifying as a body and believing that something has been taken away from us, it's really important not to spiritually bypass that, because everything is lessons God would have me learn. In other words, maybe this is something for us in this moment to say, Holy Spirit, Jesus, this is what I'm seeing now. Come into my mind and tell me more about this. I'd like to use this for you to show me in a deeper way that there is no death. So everything is a lesson God would have me learn. God doesn't make things happen so you get a bad experience. He doesn't make someone die so you can learn a lesson. He's got nothing to do with what happens here in the dream. So he's got nothing to do with this. This is the sun's projection. So when it says everything is a lesson God would have me learn, it's talking about it's an opportunity for me to practice forgiveness so I can wake up, so I can have the peace of God. So it's a lesson. So it's an opportunity, a forgiveness opportunity. It's the same deal. So if I look at my life, like Ken Wapnick says, as a classroom, therefore a classroom has got lessons in it. So it's all lessons. It's all for me to awaken, undo the ego. So lesson 163 in the course, this is how Jesus talks about death. Now, this lesson is called There is No Death. The Son of God is free. So he uses the word death. Death is a thought that takes on many forms, often unrecognised. It may appear as sadness, anxiety or doubt, as anger, faithlessness and lack of trust, concern for bodies, envy, and all forms in which the wish to be as you are not may come to tempt you. So death is a thought that takes on many forms. So the thought, death is a thought. This is a really interesting way to think, because we're going to shift our minds from believing in body identification to saying that death is a thought, and it appears as sadness. So what he's really saying, an overview here, is that whenever we're sad or fearful or are having anxiety or in anger, anytime we have a lack of trust, we are dead. We are, he even calls the thoughts from the past dead thoughts. So if you think about when you're anxious, when you're fearful, when you're sad, when you've got a lack of trust, you are not in life, are you? You're not living, you're not joyful, you're not full of life. So we have to start to think about the two aspects of our mind as life and death, rather than the body identification, or rather than a heart pumping or not. We're going to be changing back to, am I full of life? And if I'm not, that's death. So that's really Jesus's reinterpretation of death and life. Which mind am I in? If I'm in the ego's thought system, death is a thought. So a thought, which is the ego thought, you could say. And that feeling, when we're in the ego, it brings us a feeling of confusion, anxiety, trying to make sense of the world, body identification, the self-concept. He calls all these sadness, fear, anxiety, he calls them idols. So the idol is the body. I'll leave that lesson for you to read on your own, I think. I don't think actually I've got something underlined. I might just read that. I was just feeling not to read that lesson. Just let you to just to confirm it's lesson 163. And so for death is total. Either all things die or else they live and cannot die. No compromise is possible. For here again we see an obvious position which we must accept if we be sane. What contradicts one thought entirely cannot be true unless its opposite is proven false. So either all things die or else they live and cannot die. So if we're seeing the immortal spirit of everyone, we're seeing something, we're seeing in ourselves that immortal spirit, we're joining in something that is immortal, which means it cannot die. So he's asking us to look at each other, look past bodies and see something that's immortal. And therefore we feel ourselves as something immortal. I'd also like to read this section. So I'll tell you what I'm reading from, but I'll also put it in the information on the video as well when I put it up on the group. So this is the last paragraph, paragraph 7 from the Manual for Teachers, and it's number 27. What is death? Teacher of God, your one assignment could be stated thus: accept no compromise in which death plays a part. Do not believe in cruelty, nor let attack conceal the truth from you. What seems to die has but been misperceived and carried to illusion. Now it becomes your task to let the illusion be carried to the truth. Be steadfast, but in this. Be not deceived by the reality of any changing form. Truth neither moves nor wavers, nor sinks down to death and dissolution. And what is the end of death? Nothing but this: the realization that the Son of God is guiltless now and forever. Nothing but this. But do not let yourself forget it is not less than this. I really love this section, and that's why I've got it underlined. So, us as teachers of God, he says our one assignment could be stated thus. So our assignment really is the way we teach, or the way we live, or the way what we have our beingness in this world, in this dream lifetime that we're going through. Accept no compromise in which death plays a part. No compromise. So it's really, everything here lives and dies. He talks about bodies going into the ground and worms eating them, and even the worms get eaten. Even though he says everything devours everything else. We all, I think, probably at some stage in our journey have, becoming, I remember David Hoffmeister saying he was an activist. There's all sort of these ways that we can say this is wrong, this shouldn't happen, we should do this. But any time we go to do something, let's just look at this particular sentence in the course before we do, and just say this is what Jesus is asking us as teachers of God. Accept no compromise in which death plays a part. Do not believe in cruelty, nor let attack conceal the truth from you. What seems to die has been misperceived and carried to illusion. So, in other words, what we're seeing is a misperceived world, and it's been carried to illusion. In other words, it is an illusion. It was carried to illusion by our mind, by our choice. So it's a really good thing, this little sentence here, because it's really clear to check in with yourself whenever you want to have if you want to have a conversation about something with someone and you're upset by something in the seeming world. Now, not to say, like, if you really need to express it or feel your emotions, let them up. But check in. Is there any ideas of cruelty or death that play a part in this belief, in this upset? Is there anything to do with, like, even with the coronavirus at the moment and seemingly a lot of death all of a sudden? It was very easy to get drawn in to being upset by the number of deaths, you see. And these are what Jesus is telling us. Accept no compromise. No compromise. So we as teachers of God, we have to really tell ourselves, I'm not going to compromise on this. I'm not going to have my Course in Miracles teaching over here and then talk to my other friends and say, how awful is this coronavirus? It's terrible. There's too many people dying. We must do something. We have to tell ourselves, Jesus is asking us to accept no compromise. I can't do one thing here and then another thing over here because I'm compromising. That's not to say that if someone comes to you and they're upset about something, you'll feel these words, Holy Spirit, help me with my response. It might be that you're just there to listen. You don't have to tell someone, hey, there is no death. This is an illusion. This is a dream of death. But for us, accept no compromise. Notice if you're starting to go into any conversation with anybody or any thoughts about this is dreadful, there shouldn't be any death. Just notice, okay, I've gone into something that says death is real and it shouldn't be happening. Jesus is calling me. Make no compromise, Cate. Make no compromise, Ashley. Make no compromise, Teddy. Make no compromise, Kathy. He's asking us very personally, make no compromise, Shannon. Make no compromise, Beth. He's telling us, make no compromise. Come on. I need you. I need you. He's telling us, I need you to be teachers of God. Don't let your mind enter into this illusion of death. He's telling us that life is to be lived. Life is living and joyful, and it's not cut short by death. Life is in eternal and timelessness. It's something that's in our mind. It's our mind joined with this beautiful, holy mind of God. So let us not make any compromise. Let's just join together. Let you remember my words after, in the future, as you go on. Let's not make any compromise in this. And if we do, forgive it. Okay, I talked about that to someone. That's okay. I remember, that's right. Jesus has asked me to make no compromise. And the reason when I make no compromise, I stay in the light. My mind stays clear. And I'm working for him now because he makes no compromise. He doesn't tell us, hey, you're this little thing, you're suffering, there's nothing you can do about your suffering. Oh, you're sick. Oh, you poor little thing, you're sick. He doesn't tap us on the head. You poor little thing, you're sick. Oh, you're going to die one day. Really sorry about that. Good luck with it. He doesn't say that, right? He says, you are the most beautiful, limitless, boundless strength of love, God, infinite light. He says, you're just so beautiful and limitless and boundless, and make no compromise where you've made this little misthought and made a world where you think you're separate, where you think that you can suffer and die. He's like, wake up from all this. That's not you. You're not in a body. So his teaching is uncompromising. He's asking us to do that, as to wake up to that, to be that for others. So we've got to sort of say yes to that. Okay, I'm going to do my best to be uncompromising. I may have thoughts. If I have thoughts about death, or I'm scared about, or I think I'm this body and I think I'm going to die and I've just been told I've got cancer, well, of course I go straight to Jesus and say, hey, this is what's happening for me in this particular dream lifetime. I've been given 3 months to live. What do you think? And all he'll say to us is, heal your mind with me. Spend this last 3 months with me, joining in this deep, beautiful, holy love. Let's do this. Let's give over all time to be with him, to join in his love. And when we have this love, when he radiates this love for us into our mind, into our beingness, we're going to radiate it out. And that's really all our lives are for, is to have this love, receive it and give it. Give it, receive it, give it, receive it. So these, even if you're seemingly awakened, your body's still going to get laid aside because you're not a body. This is going to be like the Holy Spirit's going to decide when the body's, it's a tool for communication. There's no happiness to be found in this world. There's no safety in this world. There's nothing here. That's why we have to choose against it, because it's a world we made up to hide out from God, and we've forgotten. We've had a misthought. So we're trying to make something out of something falling apart. It's like, you're trying to put sticky tape on something that's just decaying, and you're like, no, it's got to be, I've got to make something. I've got to work out something in this world. I've got to, put my sticky tape here and there and make it. But you can try all you like. Everything in this projected world decays and goes to dust, and it can't have anything to do with everlasting eternal love. We have to see that for ourselves. We really have to look, take the blinders off and say, let me look at this world. Let me look at this. And a few people have said to me recently, something really changed in the world from me having a huge change in my mind. And that's what happens, right? The world will change because it's a projection from our mind. It's not a real thing. So lots can change. You might be surprised how things change, how when you change your mind, what you see changes. So I'm just going to now read a little thing from Ken Wapnick, and then we'll do a meditation. So Ken, I've just got these booklets. They're called Parents and Children, Our Most Difficult Classroom. I think I've put this up before. I can't remember. That's what they look like. There's 2 little booklets. I'm reading from part 1. And these booklets, Ken Wapnick did a couple of workshops around parents and children, our relationships with our parents and with our children. And the workshops sort of got summarised and put into these little booklets. And so I'm just going to, there's some Q&A in here. And if you have got the booklet, you'd like to look it up later, it's page 115 of part 1. And it says, it's called Tragedies and Death. And the question to Ken was, my friend's young son was tragically killed when the boy's father accidentally backed over him with a lawn tractor. And recently there was a story about a bear that attacked a 2-year-old boy, injured the mother, and then killed the 6-year-old daughter. How do parents deal with these tragedies? Or when a child commits suicide, how do you look at this parent-child relationship peacefully? Answer. The answer to your very last question is that you don't, at least not if you are normal. It is really important that you do not attempt to spiritualize your reactions or feelings, thereby ensuring that they never be looked at honestly and thus looked beyond. Denial is never part of the spiritual process. It goes without saying that these are most difficult lessons. But students must always remember how A Course in Miracles begins. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. This teaches us that all problems are the same, for they all are projections of the mind's wrong-minded decision for the problem of separation. The ego's thought system of guilt, fear, suffering, and death. Thus, they are all equally undone by the miracle, which shifts our focus from the body to the mind. Once our attention is directed to the true problem, it can be undone by our choosing again. Life over death, love over anger, Jesus over the ego. Seen from the world's perspective, however, it does indeed seem unfeeling to speak of such tragedies as lessons, just as these lines from the workbook would appear to be the height of insensitivity. Speaking of one who looks with vision, Jesus states, "He laughs as well at pain and loss, at sickness and at grief, at poverty, starvation, and at death." From above the battleground, these situations are perceived quite differently. There is only one problem, the belief in the ego's separation, and one solution, the belief in the Holy Spirit's atonement. It is essential for parents in situations like these to rise above their need for unfair treatment and the world's false empathy that reinforces their experiences of victimization. Otherwise, they will find no peace, but spend the rest of their lives in quiet and perhaps not so quiet resentment for their unhappy fate, and feel perfectly justified in doing so. Either all things are lessons God would have us learn, or no thing is. If the goal is to awaken from the dream of guilt, pain, and death, then these experiences, however painful, must be seen as excellent opportunities to learn the lesson that there is no death. For minds remain joined. Appearances of separation and loss are to the contrary. In addition to the lessons learned by the grieving parents, the learning opportunity for others is as great. Parents who have risen above the ego's world to remember the Holy Spirit's atonement principle that separation and loss are impossible in God's world, are able to be examples to others who are similarly tempted by the ego's thought system of sacrifice and death. The peace they demonstrate becomes a convincing witness to the right-minded thought system that alone can bring peace and joy in a world of decaying and moribund bodies. So that's my teaching on death, which I've just really called upon my own interpretation, Jesus's interpretation, and Ken's interpretation, all joining together with the same message. So I hope if anyone has, I hope you've just got something out of that, or even deepened in your understanding and experience of the idea of death. Okay, so we might do a meditation now. Thank you, welcome, and thank you to anybody that's joined while the group's been on. So as you know, I just either during the night or in the morning before the group, I'll just ask the Holy Spirit / Jesus, they just feel like one voice at the moment. There's a guide. What would you have me do? Is what is feel guided to. I feel he's guiding me to use the course's lessons as meditations, use something in the course. So even though we've done a talk on death, lesson 194, I place the future in the hands of God. This is our meditation today. So if everyone would just like to close your eyes, relax. Just repeat. I place the future in the hands of God. If I accept today's idea that I place the future in the hands of God, I will pass all anxiety, all pits of hell, all blackness of depression, all thoughts of sin and devastation brought about by guilt. I will release the world from its imprisonment. I will loosen the heavy chains that have locked the doors of freedom. God holds your future as he holds your past and present. They are one to him, and so they should be one to you. Yet in this world, the temporal progression still seems real, and so you are not asked to understand the lack of sequence really found in time. You are but asked to let the future go and place it in God's hands. And you will see by your experience that you have laid the past and the present in his hands as well. So the past will punish us no more, and the dread about the future will leave us. release the future. God, I place the future in your hands. I let it go. I give you the past. I give you the present. I give up my plans. I let go of worry and concern. I place the future in your hands. I trust. And any time that I start to concern myself with the future, I'm just going to say, I place the future in your hands. I trust you. I let go. I will not trust my best judgment. I give you my future. I step back. I don't know. I don't know my best interests. As we do this, we're calling to God. His love and His care will see us through. The Holy Spirit is our guide. He will attend to our seemingly body's needs. We can trust Him with that. I give up my planning for the future. Because all planning is for me as a body. Something to do with my body would have to be in my plan. I let go and I say, you be in charge. I'm just going to watch the miracle of anything I need be brought in. You will take over the minutiae, the little things I need. I let go. I completely surrender. I step back and let you lead the way. I trust. I have to trust first to see that trust works. So I trust. Heal my projections. Show me my true self. Let me know myself as God created me. Let my mind rest in the everlasting arms. Let me feel this deep trust and rest when I give up planning. I surrender. I let go of all planning. I let my mind open, become peaceful, and say, if I need to know anything, bring it in. Let it come in. I just rest. You be in charge. I trust you to guide me. I place the future in your hands, completely trusting, 100%, letting go of all my plans. In God's hands, we rest, untroubled, sure that only good can come to us. What worry can beset the one who gives his future to the loving hands of God? What can he suffer? What can cause him pain or bring experience of loss to him? What can he fear? And what can he regard except with love? For he who has escaped all fear of future pain has found his way to present peace and certainty of care the world can never threaten. I'm just going to be silent now for 5 minutes as you can just rest in that peaceful mind, or just repeat, I place the future in the hands of God. Okay. Let's just do a blessing to each other now. I just, if you can open your eyes, if you'd like to do this, just at the end. So let's just do a Christ blessing where we join each other in the divine mind, where we're going to look into each other's eyes and just feel this connection through this Christ mind. Feel this joining, this love. And you might just like to look around and say, I love you. I bless you. I honour you. I love you. You are guiltless. You are innocent. You are the holy child of God. You are beautiful. You are lovely. You are sinless. You are whole. You are perfect. You are the light of the world. Your beauty is beyond words. I bless you with my holiness. I am blessed by your holiness. I join you in holiness. You are my dear friend, my beautiful holy friend. I love you with all my heart. I see only your holiness. Really feel this joining. I feel this face of Christ, the Christ joining. It's just moving into this experience of innocence, of vastness, of this vast love. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. If you'd like to unmute your microphones, you can just...
Thank you, Cate. Love you. Thank you, everyone. Love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
Love you all.
Thank you,
Thanks, Kate.
Love you.
God bless you.
Wonderful.
Peace
Thank
and
you.
peace and joy.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
God bless. Thank you.